welcome to Ladies of Another View on Beck. If you're tired of not hearing the news that you want on mainstream media, you've come to the right place. We're going to talk about difficult subjects and subjects that mainstream media doesn't necessarily cover. First of all, today we're going to review the View, and then we're going to talk about the Dominion voting systems. Today I'm joined by Kendi and Renee and Patty. Before we get started on today's show, let's talk a little bit about yesterday's show. Biden is so proud about his all-female communication team. And I know it's interesting because Trump had wonderful female communication team working for him. So what's your thoughts on that, Kendi?
So I think it's exciting to see women who are involved and taking a lead with politics. One of the things that concerned me about Sarah Haynes' comment was she kind of discredited the women who are working with Trump. And it made me think about some of the attitudes and just the polarization that's occurring within the country and how we have really lost our ability to hear people. And I think that in order for us to make strides as a country, that we need to be able to start hearing what people who see differently than us are saying and try to understand their viewpoint. Not necessarily agree, but just try to understand where they're coming from.
Well, the first thing I noticed was Sunny, with this all-woman communication team, she pointed to Australia and New Zealand as a model of success. A lot of people do not pay attention to global politics. I am obsessed with global politics, and those are not good examples if you believe in liberty, okay? Those are not good examples of success. I have friends in Melbourne, Australia, and it's terrifying to see what has happened over a virus, remind you, that has a 99.8% survival rate, which is basically a bad flu. They are locked down in their homes. One mom that I know got a $10,000 fine for taking garbage out to her front yard past curfew. Okay, we're talking about like Germany, Nazi type stuff going on. And there was in Science Daily, so this is not like anything right wing, all right? In Science Daily, they pointed out the lockdowns happening in New Zealand and Australia. 1 in 10 are experiencing severe form of family harm over the lockdown. 1 in 10. Right. This is crazy.
Thanks for sharing that, Renee. We're going to kind of stick with the communication team. We're going to have so many shows on all of that. I mean, it's just because there's so much information to get to, so we're going to save some of that for another segment.
I like your point, though, that why are we looking at what they're doing, because this is not what we want here. Yeah. So fine, you know, yesterday when they were talking about the all-women communications team, they cited a study by Harvard that said women are naturally better leaders. Then they complained that millennials think men are better leaders, and I think, great, they cause divisiveness every step of the way, so let's cause some more female-male divisiveness. We can't just celebrate one thing, we have to put down the other thing. It's like, this happens all the time, and this is where all this divisiveness is coming from. And what bothered me all along, whenever you have a conservative woman in office or in a high position, they get ignored like they don't exist. So Kendi, you made a good point about, you know, that we're not hearing each other speak. Yeah, we are all for women, but not those women, not for all women. You know, it's really, and the other thing that bothered me about this celebrating the all-women communications team, this was said a couple times, maybe we can get back to normal now. Maybe now they're going to have that traditional role with the media and everybody's going to get along. Hello, the media is supposed to be probing and, you know, checking and asking and interrogating. They're not supposed to be buddy-buddy. And the whole reason they didn't get along with Trump is that they were so antagonistic. And there were times, I was amazed, I would watch a press conference and then I'd read some of the liberal media And I'd say, that's not what he said, and they know it. And they would take something out of context. I mean, I'm not a genius, but I can figure out what, put a few simple sentences together. So just the whole way they cloaked the whole all-women communications team is full of a lot of, warning flags.
Right. Right. Well, and that was yesterday. So today they talked about Sean Hannity's comment, and I do believe we have a clip of that.
And if that's what they want to do, if Biden ever became president, I'd tell Trump, pardon yourself and pardon your family. These people are based on a phony dossier.
So what's so interesting is, for years they've been talking about trying to get President Trump, put him in prison. He belongs in prison, but they really haven't mentioned a crime that he's committed. So I'm not sure what the crimes that they want to put him in prison for, or what he needs to be pardoned for. Kenny, do you have a thought on that?
So my only thought on this is that perhaps it's because they're blaming him for how COVID has been handled. I think it was Sunny today on the show where she said that if Hillary Clinton had been elected, that we would not be facing what we're facing today. And so everything that's happened with COVID, it's Trump's fault. And so that would be my guess, that they're just trying to put everything on him, and he's the one to blame. And he needs to be held accountable for it.
I thought I heard them bring something up, maybe I misunderstood, but I thought I heard them bring something up about, the porn star. Did they not? Did I miss that? I thought they had brought some.
Inadvertently, not directly.
Yeah. They were bringing that up, that, he got away with that and so forth. And I don't know if that was, one of their points that they were trying to make, to say, well, that never got cleared and so forth. So I'm not sure.
Well, I dug a little deeper because I wanted to find out, where did this come from? And it was just an offhand remark made by Sean Hannity, because there was an op-ed piece saying, well, once Trump is out of office, he should be prosecuted. No mention of crimes, like you said, Kendi. And that is when Hannity said, well, he should pardon himself ahead of time. So now you watch The View, and they take that as if this is an official plan of the Trump administration, and they start ripping him apart and saying how ridiculous, but then Whoopi Goldberg, who's the main host, was celebrating that there are people just vowing to prosecute him. She said, he's saying he's going to run for president in 2024, and we need to make sure that can't happen. If he's in jail, then it won't happen. So they really are like, we're going to get him one way or the other.
Right, and they had also brought up, they said that President Trump should step down so the VP can step up, and then the VP, Pence, can go ahead and pardon President Trump. And it's still so confusing. I still need to know what he's pardoned for. And then Joy, of course, the Joy that she is, she talked about where he got this $170 million, that Trump has $170 million that he's raised since the election. And she said, talk about the P.T. Barnum, a sucker is born every minute. Who are these people who are sending him money? And it's like, it's people who believe in his causes. It's people who believe that, that believe that we can have another opinion, that not everything, we don't want to go down the socialism way. There are people that want to save our country, and they are very afraid of what might happen in the next 8 years, or 4 years, I should say, 4 years. But there's a huge fear there. And then Sarah had made a comment about, we're in the middle of a pandemic without economic relief. And it's like, where's this economic relief coming from? Right? It's taxpayer money. And it's like they're forcing these people to try to stay home. But we have so much more to talk about. Let's come back right after this break on Ladies of Another View on Back.
Beck Communications is honored to be recently recognized with 3 Broadband Now awards. Beck Communications Cooperative was awarded in the categories of top internet speeds nationwide, top 3 fastest internet providers in North Dakota, and North Dakota's #1 fastest fiber provider. It's only through the support of our members and customers that Beck Fiber delivers award-winning speeds and service. Thank you, Beck Communications Cooperative members and customers, for your years of continued support.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
At Dakota Community Bank and Trust, you can trust us to make home loans easy. You can fill out an application online, on the phone, or in person. People who have used online-only companies have found it very difficult and frustrating if they have a question. But with us, you can just stop in. We are real people supporting you and the communities we serve, keeping North Dakota money working for the benefit of our communities.
Serving the community, looking out for you. At Dakota Community Bank and Trust, that's what we do.
Howdy folks, it's the County Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Boston breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Back. In this segment, we're going to talk a little bit about Dr. Ashish Jha. He is, with the COVID, he's considered one of their experts. And anyway, he's predicting this huge Thanksgiving spike after all the celebrations. And, you know, of course, everybody was criticized for gathering in their homes with their own families for Thanksgiving. And then there's some celebrities were out in Hollywood and wherever having these huge parties. And it was so funny because anytime a Republican or a conservative person shared anything about having a Thanksgiving meal or a gathering together, but yet these guys had these great big parties, and it's like, well, we can forgive them. It's just a slight indiscretion. And it's just, I find it so amusing that they're so forgiving for some, but not for others.
I totally agree. In fact, one of the things that they said that I found so interesting was we shouldn't shame them. And if you're going to do something that's going against the rules, just make sure that you don't post it on social media. Keep it a secret so other people don't know. So personally, that kind of rubbed me wrong. I thought that we shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting point too. And if you noticed, Sarah said, I'm not going to shame them. And she talked about how she had been shamed as a new mom and so forth with some things that she posted on social media. And then Joy came in and said, no, we should shame. Okay, shame them because these people are narcissists, okay? Because it's selfish to stay home, to not stay home, to not wear a mask, to not obey unlawful orders, okay, for a virus with a 99.8% success rate. So, and then I loved how they just keep, if you notice, they keep pushing cases. Now, if most people don't understand, cases do not mean infections, okay? They're doing millions of tests. That does not mean you are infected. The PCR test has a 80% false positive. Okay, so that's a huge amount of tests that are not even correct. But they keep focusing on that, cases, 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 instead of infections.
You know, they were all over the place on whether you should shame somebody who had a large gathering. And so the one who said, oh, don't shame them, had been shamed before. So she knows what it felt like as a celebrity. And the ones that wanted to shame, well, I thought it was interesting that Whoopi kind of had the middle ground there and said, well, just don't do it again. Yeah. So like, yeah, you shouldn't have done it, but just don't do it again. At least don't put it on TikTok.
Right, just don't let it happen again. But getting back to what Joy said, I mean, she's just so brutal to people, just, you know, just brutal in her opinions. And we're all entitled to our opinions, but it's like, just have a little bit of kindness. But she said, what motivates people to behave this way? Narcissism, self-delusion, watch news instead of pop media. Narcissistic disorders are rampant and selfish, annoying, and disgusting. It's like, because someone had a gathering. So, you know, it's just ironic that some people are allowed to have a party and it's okay, and others are not. And I think we probably fall into the we are not allowed.
Well, I think, weren't they family gatherings?
Well, no, there were some pretty big.
Or no,
it was a
okay,
big,
with other friends.
Yep,
and,
yep.
Yeah, the fact is it is happening. And somebody did say, well, at least don't put it on social media.
Right. Yeah.
So we really are getting mixed messages.
Right, and then Sunny had said, I don't follow them or look to them for health information, which she had a very good point. I thought that was great. But then he was also talking about the 13.5 million cases with the 3 new vaccines coming out, and they're expecting 1 million cases a week. And that is a lot of cases. He thinks the surge is going to be from 4 to 6 weeks ahead of us. And, you know, of course, they were glad to see that Dr. Scott Atlas resigned yesterday. And he, you know, he was all about herd immunity, which I'm all about herd immunity too. I mean, that just makes sense. If you've had it, you know, you're now immune to it. I don't, and I still don't understand how if you've had it and you're immune to it, you can still get reinfected in 90 days, but yet you can take a vaccine and now you're supposed to be immune to it. So that was interesting. But he said he was tired of spreading the misinformation by Dr. Scott Atlas and that he didn't do anything. Anyway, he said that he didn't listen to the science. But anyway, now they're all excited because Moderna has a vaccine coming out, and they say that it has 0 side effects. Now, how can a vaccine that you have never had a long-term test, how can you actually make that claim that there are 0 side effects? And then they're saying Pfizer is 95% effective. But they're also saying after the 2nd dose. And so how many doses are we going to have? A 3rd dose? Does this virus, is it going to mutate? I mean, it's all about vaccinating people.
Yeah, this is so concerning to me, this whole push for a vaccine. And as I listened to the show today, that came through very loud and clear. In fact, it was stated by the doctor that the mask would be removed when the majority of the people were vaccinated. I think it's important for us as we are looking at the fact that a vaccine is coming out, that we understand the dangers associated with a vaccine that is rushed. I went onto the Mayo Clinic's website just to get an idea of what does it take to test a vaccine. So normally it takes years to approve a vaccine. They start with animal testing and then they move to humans. But I want to read something that they had stated there. It said, because of the seriousness of the COVID-19 pandemic, vaccine regulators might fast track some of the steps. In the US, the Food and Drug Administration can give emergency authorization for the use of a COVID-19 vaccine if its phase 3 clinical trial results show that it is safe and effective, and the benefits outweigh the risk. Now, I want you to listen closely to this next part. It says, even if emergency authorization is given, the vaccine developer will be expected to continue gathering safety data. And what I find interesting about that is they have told us who's going to receive the vaccine first. It's going to be our healthcare workers and first responders. And then it will be the elderly and those with chronic diseases. And they are going to become the largest study of a vaccine. I mean, this has not been studied properly, and so they will be part of that study.
Well, and let's remind everybody that these manufacturers have zero legal responsibility. If you are harmed, if you have Alzheimer's years down the road, cancer, neurological disorders, 44% of people, according to the HHS, are vaccine injured. And all manufacturers are not legally, they have no legal immunity. They have legal immunity from all vaccine injury. That's scary. And of course, I love that they diss herd immunity. Herd immunity has been going on since the beginning of time. And all the original science on herd immunity has nothing to do with vaccines. It has to do with contracting a virus naturally. You actually cannot get real herd immunity from a vaccine.
Well, there's so much more that we can talk about on that, but we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Ladies of Another View on Back.
You just might find the home of your dreams this weekend by watching the Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes Sundays at 6 p.m. and Wednesdays at 7 on Beck, featuring properties from Bismarck, Mandan, Minot, and surrounding areas. The Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes presents desirable properties that are for sale, lets you meet your Alliance realtors, and provides critical insights into local happenings from community and business leaders. Join us this Sunday evening at 6 or Wednesday at 7 for the Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes on Beck.
He once won a spelling bee in an ancient language that he did not speak. He is the only man to ever earn extra credit on an IQ exam. His academic degrees are considered legitimate spending currency in 22 nations, 2 principalities, and at Chick-fil-A restaurants in the United States and Western Canada.
I do not always engage with education programming, but when I do, it is the Dr. Duke Show.
Stay educated with the Dr. Duke Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on Beck News.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
Is your business phone system outdated and expensive to maintain? Most large VoIP companies leave you on hold or struggling through online support and training for your employees. With Beck Connect, you always have fast, friendly, local support. Familiar faces with the know-how to keep you connected. Take advantage of the newest technology in voice calling, video conferencing, and virtual meeting rooms. Beck Connect gives you all the features you need with no upfront investment and no obsolete hardware or software ever again. Simplify your communications. Choose local. Choose Beck Connect.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Howdy folks, it's the County Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the game. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Back. This afternoon, we're going to talk a little bit about the Dominion voting system. It's been all over the news for, well, since the election now about all the differences. But, you know, one of the first things I did to try to learn more about the system itself is I checked I tried to Google a definition or what I could come up with. Anyway, I came up with Wikipedia. And it's so funny because normally I don't believe anything on Wikipedia, and here's why. All right, so the first time I looked it up, it was amazing. It said Dominion was a subject of a hoax originated by followers of the far-right QAnon conspiracy theory, later spread by One American News Network, President Donald Trump, and Trump's surrogates and supporters. And so when I did the research for today's show, all of that is removed, and now we have this new definition with Dominion voting systems. And we have, if you want to just bring that clip up, I just have what's on Wikipedia now. Basically, after President Donald Trump was defeated by President-elect Joe Biden in the 2020 election, Trump and various surrogates promoted conspiracy theories. That's what's so ironic about this, because there's too many unanswered questions right now. There's so many variations of what happened with the voting system. There are affidavits that people have come forward and have already, claimed what they saw firsthand. And all of this is going on. So let's not put the cart before the horse. He is still just President-elect Biden. He is not President Biden. And, there's some of us that are still hopeful that President Trump will remain our president. But I think it all boils down to this Dominion voting system.
Yes. Going off of what you've just showed us with Wikipedia and how information is being changed before our eyes, it reminds me of Star Wars and Obi-Wan Kenobi when he encounters a stormtrooper and he says, "These are not the droids you're looking for." I feel like we're seeing that happen before our eyes, where we have information and we're being told, ignore it, it's not real, it's not there. But as Americans, because we live in a society that is built on the voice of the people, it is so important for us to know the truth as far as what has happened with this election.
That is a brilliant point, and I wasn't going to talk about this, but since you brought that up, I'm going to switch gears. Because I was on the CNN website. I thought, let's look at the other side's view of what they're saying. And for those people at home that don't know, I have no dog in this race. I did not vote for Trump, and I did not vote for Biden. I'm an independent voter, so now everybody knows that I voted for somebody who probably had no chance of winning. But this is concerning to me, and I want to know. And so I was on CNN's website, and they have a facts first. And they were pointing out in the beginning, how this is all nonsense, basically, Dominion voting systems, this is all conspiracy theory. But at the end of the article, they basically are citing sources saying that it's not conspiracy theory. And I'm just going, this is gaslighting. What is going on here? They're saying one thing and then they double down at the end of the article, pointing out that yes, the Clinton Foundation is connected to the Dominion voting company. The chairman of the board is connected to Soros. I mean, you got all these Democrats connected to this. It's crazy.
Right. Before we get to that, let's bring up the clip, though. It's regarding Joel Oltmann. He's the one that discovered all of these flaws. He was trying to infiltrate Antifa, and in doing so, he came across the name of Eric Coomer. Now, Eric Coomer, if you Google him, you're not going to find much about him anymore, but he works for Dominion. He has a PhD in nuclear science. He's the vice president of engineering at Dominion. He is also the director of strategy and security for Dominion. He holds several patents, mind you, several patents that make sure Dominion users can educate the machines, meaning that they can go in and make changes in the machines. And there's all kinds of evidence on this, but you're not going to find it on mainstream media, that's for sure. He wanted to make sure that the Dominion servers were in all of the battleground states. Now that to me is alarming, but we have a clip. We have a clip of Eric Coomer telling us why he thinks Donald Trump will not win.
Dominion's leadership.
Joe, you infiltrated an Antifa conference call this past September and accidentally came upon a top Dominion voting systems executive named Eric Coomer. Describe that call and what it led you to find.
It was interesting how the call started. Somebody says, "Who's Eric?" He says, "Eric is Dominion guy." Someone actually said, "Hey, go ahead." I told him to continue speaking. And someone interrupts and says, "What are we going to do if effing Trump wins?" And Eric responds, and I'm paraphrasing this, by the way, "Don't worry about the election. Trump is not going to win. I made effing sure of that." And then they started laughing, and somebody says, "Effing right." At that point,
Well, we have so much more to talk. We'll talk about it when we come right back after this break on Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Who do you trust with your digital life? Not all cloud backup providers keep your data truly private. Beck Cloud Backup uses advanced multi-layer encryption to keep your family photos, videos, and sensitive business documents secure and only for your eyes. Your Beck Lightband Internet service already includes 50 gigs of free storage to keep your digital life safe and secure. Call us at 701-475-2361 to start using your Beck Cloud Backup today.
Howdy, folks. It's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink for trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Today's households have more digital devices than ever before. More links to family, business, education, and entertainment. Beck Communications spent over 10 years building North Dakota's fastest fiber optic internet service. Beck Lightband Internet, outpacing speeds in large cities nationwide. Lightband Internet handles all your digital needs without throttling your connection to the world. Beck Communications, valuable digital connections in rural North Dakota.
Hi, welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We were just talking about Eric Coomer's statement about he was going to make sure that Trump wasn't going to win. And that's the part that is so scary and alarming, that anyone for any election, I don't care if it's for your county commissioner or the president of the United States, we have got to have a system in place that's legal and that counts every vote and doesn't count votes more than once. There's so many affidavits and stuff out there, but I just found it so alarming what Eric Coomer had said about how he was going to personally make sure, or he has already personally made sure, that President Trump would not get reelected.
Well, it isn't just what he said, it's who said it. Like, he's a top guy at Dominion, and if he said it, he would know what he's talking about. And there are many computer experts who've said that they are easy to manipulate, those machines. Just in my research, I came across an expert Princeton professor of computer science and election security, Andrew Apple, who said The machines can be altered to manipulate tallies in just a few minutes using a malicious code. And this is why we're saying we're not suffering from some psychosis, as was said on The View about us yesterday, that we have experts, and we saw the numbers before our eyes. We watched election night where Trump was way ahead in the battleground states, and all of a sudden, everything changed. So I went to Cheryl Atkinson's page. She is she's won awards for being an investigative correspondent. She worked for CBS for, she worked for them for 21 years, and she finally left saying, you know, they are not covering the scandals in the Obama administration, and she left. But she has a page, and she shows all the anomalies. So I'm just going to read 2 of them. These 2 alone tell you, something's a little strange. So on election night, the New York Times reported that President Trump was leading in Georgia by 103,000 votes. Then the Times' continuous voting updates showed ballots arriving for Biden in multiples of 4,800 votes over and over again. In some vote dumps, the president actually lost votes. And I've seen this from a number of different sources, and they show the live reporting where Trump was losing votes. And then when Biden pulled ahead exactly by 1,000 votes, gaining 104,000 votes, he gained them by multiples of 4,800. The same thing happened in Pennsylvania. By 11 p.m. election day, Trump was leading Biden by 285,000 votes. Then 347,000 votes from somewhere dumped into the system in 44 batches and increments of approximately 6,000, 12,000, or 18,000 additional net votes for Biden. That is a little strange. So we can say, gee, maybe there's a reason. Maybe there isn't a reason. Maybe it was, written into the software. But don't we need to know what happened?
We need to know. I thought this was interesting. There was a declaration written by a forensic analyst his background was in military intelligence. And it's a 17-page declaration, and it's in one of the lawsuits. It was fascinating. It showed Dominion's voting machine connected to Iran, China, Serbia, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Shanghai Bank. This is crazy. Back in 2019. This is just a little concerning. Like I said, I don't have any horse in this race, and I'm going, we should all be deeply concerned about this.
I just want to touch on this person who's suddenly come into the media. His name is Joe Oltmann, and he was the one whose video clip we were listening to right before we went to break. He described himself as an introvert, and that he didn't have any political reason to get involved with the election, and yet he says, God put me in a position where I became aware of what was really going on with this election. And what we're facing it's evil. And I think that for us to be able to move forward as a country, we really need to get to the root of this. And it's interesting, this person that he's brought forward, this Eric Coomer, his name has been completely scraped from the internet. And yet everything that he brought forward is concerning, with his link to Dominion and the power that he had there. And the things that he said about America, about our president, and his connection to Antifa.
Right. And getting back to Eric, that's how he had found out about him. When Joe was doing the research, he was actually trying to infiltrate Antifa, and that's how he came upon this information. And it's just so alarming that anyone could have that much power. But he owns the patents. But here we have another clip I want you to see.
Facebook, you get that sinking feeling, like what this is crazy. Here's the director of strategy and security at Dominion. And when I got into his Facebook page, that's when things really started to kind of come together for me, that that Eric Coomer was this, that he was not just Antifa, he was responsible for putting his finger on the scales of our election.
Right. Now, I'm almost speechless because of the things that have come forward. And again, there are so many people with affidavits that saw the numbers. And all of these hearings are being held, and you can hear them on some of the conservative news sites, but you're not going to find them on mainstream media. It's not even mentioned on NBC or CBS or any of those stations. That's the frustrating part about it, because Americans are losing hope. They're thinking that this is all done, but in my opinion, this is still wide open. The race is still on, and nothing is going to be done until January 20th. That's when we're going to find things out. But for him to have that much power in one company, to be able to manipulate a voting machine, is crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you know, I've thought about times in my life where I've been wrongfully accused of something, and my reaction to that was I wanted to prove that I was innocent. And I think that at a time like this, where accusations have been brought forward, that the side that should be defending themselves, where are they? You know, all they're doing is just saying we've won. But I feel that they have. They need to prove to the American people that they have been put in that place legally and through the voice of the people.
Well, part of that, you know, it's the Smartmatic software that's on the Dominion machines, and that was actually invented by people in Venezuela. Why can't I say that today? I'm tongue-tied, I'm sorry. Anyway, they've used them in Chicago, but they got rid of them there. The machines are linked to very bad people. Chavez actually won down in Venezuela because of the Dominion machines, and that's alarming too. They can set the algorithm so one vote will count as 1.5 votes or 2 votes, or they can eliminate votes. And now, again, you won't find that on mainstream media, but you guys, you just have to dig a little bit deeper and don't believe everything you hear on mainstream media. If you want the answers to these stories, you've got to dig, and you have to dig, and then you have to make copies, because everything gets eliminated, it gets deleted.
Yes, that's true.
You know, so even if we're not talking about the Dominion machines, and if things are disappearing, like where is this Eric guy? How come all of a sudden he disappeared? If you just look at, I read an article in the National Review that was tongue-in-cheek, that I thought was just genius. And he said, now, this is such an anomaly, this election. Why aren't these investigative reporters digging in? Like, not only is Joe Biden the oldest president, but he actually won by 15 million more votes than Obama did for his re-election. Wow, isn't that strange? And he underperformed Hillary Clinton in every major metro area around the country, except for Milwaukee, Detroit, Atlanta, and Philadelphia. And in the states that mattered most, there were so many mail-in ballots that really turned the tide for the election. And so here we're hearing, you know, if this is such an amazing victory, why are they not digging deeper? And there's a lot of other anomalies where, like they call them the bellwether counties, that were all Trump, and the ones that had predicted the last elections for over half a century, all of a sudden, they all became for Biden. And so there's just a lot of statistical anomalies that if this is all true and you're a Democratic reporter, wouldn't you be celebrating and saying, look at this, he broke all these records, but they're not touching it with a 10-foot pole. Isn't that odd?
It is odd. And in some of those counties as well, they had 130% of the people vote. So how can 130% of the population, and we're not just talking of anyone 18 and over, we're talking men, women, and children under the age of 18, but 130% of the population voted. And of course, we've heard about the dead people voting as well. You know, we've also heard the stories about Dominion being tied to Soros and the Clinton Foundation. And then we get to the CNN report, where what they tried to do is they tried to debunk it. They said, none of this is true. Dominion has no corporate ties with Venezuela, the Clinton Foundation, or Soros. I believe we have a shot of that. Okay, so in this, if you follow the arrows towards the bottom, It will, well, at the top it says, Smartmatic was founded in Florida by 2 Venezuelans and provided election technology to the Venezuelan government. Okay, so there you have Venezuela. All right, then you go down to, it's also part of a program run by the Clinton Foundation in 2014. And then it goes on to say, and while the chairman of the board of Smartmatic's parent company is also on the board of a foundation run by Soros. So of course, you don't have a direct paper trail of all of these people being, connected to Dominion, but there is certainly a trail of very suspicious associations. I guess that's how I would put it. Anyway, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it's a duck. And if people can't put that together, it's just, I find that alarming.
It's unusual too in the contest, like in the House and Senate, where Republicans won re-election and yet Biden got elected. Mm-hmm. Normally people vote the party ticket, mm-hmm. and so that's another anomaly. So these are a little strange things that then you add the Dominion voting machines. Then you talk about the mail-in ballots that are notorious for voter fraud. And that's where Biden did the best, when you had these huge amounts of mail-in ballots all of a sudden showing up en masse, just big piles of them that came from out of nowhere after we all went to bed, like at 1 and 2 in the morning.
And they also had brought up the point that a lot of these ballots that came in during the night, they seemed to be on a different type of paper, but they also had claimed that it was just a perfect dot or ink dot, like it was a pre-printed ballot, and they didn't vote for anybody except the president. Now, it's very rare. I mean, it's just statistically unheard of that hundreds of thousands of people would have the same paper with the same dot that would go into the same machine, and they're all for absolutely just one person, and without voting for anything else on the entire ballot. That's the scary part too.
I'm going to sound snarky, but it's like when it benefits their story, they're going to use the data that's going to support them, but when it doesn't, it just doesn't work. Science is only science when it speaks to their side.
To their science, right. Okay, well, we're going to be right back after these messages on Ladies of Another View on Beck.
You just might find the home of your dreams this weekend by watching the Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes Sundays at 6 p.m. and Wednesdays at 7 on Beck. Featuring properties from Bismarck, Mandan, Minot, and surrounding areas. The Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes presents desirable properties that are for sale, lets you meet your Alliance realtors, and provides critical insights into local happenings from community and business leaders. Join us this Sunday evening at 6 or Wednesday at 7 for the Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes on Beck.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Howdy folks, it's the County Line Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hay Boston breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a comb roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
He once won a spelling bee in an ancient language that he did not speak. He is the only man to ever earn extra credit on an IQ exam. His academic degrees are considered legitimate spending currency in 22 nations, 2 principalities, and at Chick-fil-A restaurants in the United States and Western Canada.
I do not always engage with education programming, but when I do, it is the Dr. Duke Show.
Stay educated with the Dr. Duke Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on Beck News.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. Last night we had our tree lighting ceremony at the state capitol. Unfortunately, it had to be virtual this year due to COVID. Nobody was allowed in. I've taken my kids there in the past, but it actually made national news too because of COVID and with North Dakota having such a high population of positives. I like to think that we're just positive people all around, to be honest. But anyway, I think we found a short little lighting ceremony clip, if we could see that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. For the tree and submit them to the Capitol. And so it's always fun. If you've never had a chance to do the tree lighting ceremony, I would suggest you take your kids there next year. But anyway, we thought that was kind of fun. But we touched a little bit yesterday about service dogs. Well, we have this fantastic clip of our dear friend Renee here with her dog, and he's never done this before. You've just got to see it. So anyway, Renee, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that is Lucy. She is a Hungarian Vizsla. And I spent so many years adopting and fostering dogs and finding homes for them with the first humane center we had in Dickinson. And so when I got Lucy, I wanted to actually have my own dog that I got to pick out. It was nobody else's dog. And she has been an unusual dog. And I found out after I got her that they are actually used for therapy dogs. And you know, without getting into too much detail, that day I had a lot going on emotionally. And she has never done that. She sensed it. She always sits in her side of the seat when I'm driving. And she sensed my stress, and she came over to me, and then I turned on this song, which just happened to be on the CD, and then she just did that thing. I was like, and you know, they call them Vizslas, they call them Velcro dogs. And she's my little therapy dog, yeah.
I used to take dogs. We had a Newfoundland mix and a golden retriever, and then we had a collie mix. But I used to take them to the nursing home for 13 years, 2 different nursing homes. And then after a while, there was a pet store in town that's now closed that used to also let us take puppies. But I actually witnessed when we had our Newfoundland mixed, 2 different times I witnessed people kind of coming out of a comatose state. One was a girl who had been in a kind of in a coma, and people thought, well, maybe she can sense. And I would put the puppies near her face, and she would go like this. And she did that time after time, and a nurse came in and said, oh my gosh, look at Brandy, you know. And then there was another time, there was a man named Arvid who loved dogs, but his health declined, and week after week after week, he always seemed to be sleeping in his room. But we'd come in and see him, and one week we went in, and I said, hey, Arvid, do you want to visit with the dogs? And he opened his eyes. So I brought my dog up, and he went like this, so the dog would go up on his chest, and he was laughing and hugging the dog. what I didn't know is he hadn't really been conscious for several months. And the staff came by the door and they said, oh, look at Arvid. And they said, come here. And everybody looked. And it was such a joyful experience for myself and the kids to see the effect that a dog had had on him.
That's a wonderful
I love
story.
that. I love your story, Renee, about your dog and how it comforts you. So I have this little tiny dog. I don't know if they can pull it up on the screen so you can see what he looks like. But he's a Papillon, and his name is Rizzo. And I have never been one that's really liked dogs. The haters are going to come out and hate me for saying that, but this dog, Rizzo, has really helped teach me how to love dogs. And there have been so many times when I've been struggling in my life, just like with you, Renee. And he has been able to sense, and he comes up and he'll lay on my lap, and he does that with everyone in our family. And so dogs they're amazing, and I'm so grateful that we have them.
They're a gift.
A man's best friend.
Yeah.
Right. So I grew up with one farm dog. It's kind of funny now. It's sad and funny. More sad for some, more funny for others maybe. We go through dogs at our place really fast. We live on a farm. And so unfortunately, we've never had a dog maybe longer than 2 years. It's sad. And they are work dogs. They're very well loved and taken care of. But I had gone to a friend's place one time, and we were in a small business together. And anyway, we're out in her garage, and we're working on our stuff, and all of a sudden she goes, oh, Mary, what's the matter? I said, well, nothing. She goes, well, Scooter, the dog, and I think that was his name, was laying by my feet. And it's like, this was a family that had foster kids all the time, and whoever had the worst day, that dog would go sit by their feet after school. And so my friend Charla, oh, I said that out loud. My friend Charla noticed that this dog was sitting at my feet, and I was really having a bad day, and her dog could sense that. And I thought that was so cool, especially for foster kids, that she could identify which kid was having trouble in school or in life, etc., because that dog could identify who had it.
That
gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, that
Sweet.
does.
Yes. Yeah.
Dogs are amazingly receptive. I've seen this with other dogs. Like I said, I helped start the first humane center in Dickinson. And so I fostered probably 80 dogs in a year, and then had to find homes for them. Wow. And you see all their different personalities. It's just crazy to see how different they are. And one of the dogs that we had, we bought a house, and it turned out to be a haunted house. And thank goodness we got out of the contract, but the dog would not go into the house. He followed me wherever I went, but he would not go into this house. Yeah, I should have taken that as a warning.
Well, we don't have much time left for today. It's been fantastic. Tomorrow we're going to have some more topics to talk about, and we're going to get into other topics. But do you guys have some final thoughts?
I have one, actually. You know, as we talk about different things here on The View, or Ladies Up Another View, I cannot believe I just said that. It can feel heavy and dark, but in the Bible it says, I've heard 365 times, do not be afraid. So trust God, do not be afraid.
I love that.
Amen.
Amen.
That's my comment.
That's fantastic. Fantastic way to end our day. We appreciate everybody tuning in with us, and real people with real news, and we'll be back tomorrow on Ladies of Another View on Beck.